Thank you, Mr. Chair, and good afternoon all. Thank you for being here. I'm sitting here as a new member of Congress, but I'm also sitting here as a former leader of my state Senate in Vermont and was on essentially our state's front lines in dealing with the pandemic emergency, much like my colleague, Mr. Garcia. And I want to be clear that we all want to reduce improper payments. I think that is clear. I don't know some of my colleagues on the Republican side, but I think we all can agree that that is a goal because it's the people's money. What I want us to do, though, is bring us back to that moment at the beginning of the pandemic. It's a moment that I remember so clearly. I had thousands and thousands of Vermonters calling my office, calling the office of all of my colleagues, Republicans and Democrats, to say, we're desperate. We're desperate. We can't pay our bills. We don't have money for food. We can't pay our rental payments. And I can't convey to you the loss of sleep or the worry that we all had as state legislatures trying to protect our people. And what I'm concerned about this morning is I feel like at the heart of this hearing has been a false choice between ease of access to government assistance when disasters strike. And as Mr. Garcia said, we lost over 1.1 million Americans. And I'm sure, like many of the people in this room, I know people who succumbed to the pandemic. So I believe it's a false choice between ease of access to help alleviate fraud and making sure people get the help they need. This is about real people. It's about real families. It's about desperate people needing assistance. And so the question I have for you this morning is, do you agree with that assertion that government must either choose speed or accuracy? Because what I know is getting the money out quickly to people desperately in need saved lives in every community in my home state.
I think you can do both if you're prepared. And that's what I've said all along. I have acknowledged in all our reports the important assistance delivered to needy Americans. But there are definitely choices. I mean, one of the things, the economic impact statements, where the money went directly to individuals, there were some problems with that. You know, the first round went to $1.4 billion went to deceased individuals. We've gotten about half of that back, one of which was my own mother who had passed away earlier. My sister returned the money, though. So, but in
Is
those,
that on the record, Mr. Dodon?
yes.
Okay, just checking.
Yes, no, that is.
I'm joking.
I've already said it when I testified in 2020 on this.
Okay.
But the programs that are administered through third parties present problems. And if the agencies are prepared and they're designed properly, you can get the money out quickly, but you can also minimize the fraud. We're not saying you can ever eliminate it, but I think if the agencies are prepared, the programs are designed properly, people can get the aid they need as soon as possible. What happened with the fraud, though, is because some of these funds were limited.
Could I, Mr. Dodaro, just because
yeah.
I'm going to run out of time.
Yeah,
I
sure.
appreciate it. So
All
a
right.
question, follow-up question is, can you highlight for us the ways in which we can design benefit systems with the recipient in mind, making sure that we're combating improper use of funds, but making sure it is meeting the needs of the people on the other side, those real Americans who need the help?
Right. Yeah, well, I think we need better identity verification systems to know who the people are that are applying. Mr. Horowitz talked about that. I've talked about that. We've made recommendations about that. I think the agencies ought to be better prepared to know how to prevent fraud from happening in the first place. There's a lot of different ways that those things could be done and be done properly.
I appreciate that, and I'm eager to partner with anyone on this committee that wants to address these two things simultaneously. And I just want to say, in this committee, we have to keep the people back home in mind every single day. I yield back.